Welcome to Reality After Show coverage of The Challenge All-Stars 5 Rivals. Tonight, we are talking episode 7. I'm your host, Dan Montchal, joined, as always, Alex Trias, Paulie Calafiore, and about time we have some drama.
Only took, a little halfway through the season. And so it's such a shame that we get to this part of the season where we actually have some drama. And our boy, your vocal cords, man, they're crushed.
Nobody judge me on how I'm speaking on tonight's episode, but I will only be able to talk in a whisper. But there is so much to unpack about this episode. So we're going to use this as some sort of ASMR. So if you want to listen to this right before you're about to go to bed, we're going to be bringing it to you silky smooth jazz style tonight.
It's like the overnight radio. Like, we're just going to keep it nice and calm, people. Let's bring the vibes as we still roast everyone how we do.
Oh yeah, people are definitely getting roasted, but they're getting roasted with a little jazz to it, little jazz pizzazz to it.
Yeah. So Dan, what were your thoughts about the episode, just in general? Outside, obviously, the drama was great. Finally had an episode with some meat on the bone. Which also, I'm gonna say to all the people who are like, 60 minutes isn't enough time to convey a story. This episode showed that you can. So
I thought this was the best episode of the season for me personally. I think we got some drama. I don't want to say the challenges were great. I thought overall it was good. For me, the most disappointing thing about it was the ending. And not because, I'm sad that Fessy and Amber went home or anything like that. But as soon as Nany and Turbo went into elimination, I was like, well, they're winning because these editors, I don't know what they're doing. They spoiled it because the big fight that I guess looks like it may happen next week, that was one of their main focal points of the trailer, is Nany yelling at Turbo, being like, it's too early for this. I'm like, we haven't seen that moment yet. We haven't seen any friction between Nany and Turbo. So that hasn't happened yet, which means Amber and Fessy have no shot at winning this elimination. So that was the only disappointing part for me, was the editors essentially gave it away. But overall, I did really like the episode.
Didn't they also accidentally put hashtag the challenge 40 in the bottom corner?
Oh my! What's sad is I watched it on I watched it live. I had it on because I was doing other stuff afterwards. I had the replay on. Completely missed it. I did hear about it though. Editors, we love you. But on the same turn, I love the editing choice of the last 30 seconds. The last 30 seconds as they cut to the close of the episode and everyone's just like, oh, we all know what's going on. It's Veronica and Katie. They're running the show. Nany and Turbo are on the back end. And you just cut to Frank just being like, it was me. Just twirling his mustache, being like, it was always me. I was they all along. It's like, just play Agatha all along. Just insert Frank's head into it. It's just, and they do the cuts. They do the cuts of every single move throughout the season of what was causing the tension. It was always relayed through Frank. You're showing that Veronica and Katie are just figureheads. If we go into a little political sense there, and sort of proves Mark Long's tweet last week a little wrong because we're watching a mastermind at work. We were not who he was talking about though.
It was a masterclass on Frank's end all around. What made it even funnier to me was when he got called out for it and he freaking lost his mind on everybody because he knew he was safe. He knew Veronica and Katie were going to throw him in. And he's just like, I am so sick of – he almost pulled a Wes, where Wes is just like, everybody's so intimidated by my intelligence, my good looks, and me being successful outside of the game. And then at the end, he's just like, hey, just kidding.
It was me.
It was brilliant.
Crazier about it was simple as you're going down to how much he's controlling the house, down to when they're doing the flashbacks of him having the conversation with Veronica being like, don't talk to Shane right now. I'd wait till after, give it a day or two. And it's just everyone is putty in his hands for this house, and they're essentially just bending to his will, whether they know it or not.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. He has been brilliant all season. No notes.
And so I do want to bring up a separate point here. How much of this is also because, like, we all have been saying throughout the season, like, he's playing a great game. The odds of him and Sam winning are very small, but how much of a factor is it the fact that he's attached to someone like Sam that's allowing him, at least up to this point in the game, to get away with doing all this? Because they're like, well, yeah, Frank's there, but who does he have? While he spent all that time just pivoting into a corner where now he has all these protections.
I mean, with the way that the season is shaping up, and now we have two back. Wait, yeah, we have three back-to-back episodes where you have strong team against strong team, right? So you had Adam and our boy fucking Handjob Steve taking out Devon and Leroy, strong team. Then you had Dario and Ashley
Against Corey and Big T.
Against Corey and Big T, but still kind of like a threat to like that whatever dynamic is going on. And then this week you've got to match up with Fessy and Amber and Turbo and Nani, two of the other good teams in the house, which looking at the way that the vote went down, where like half the teams basically voted for Amber and Fessy, and the other half of the teams voted for Frank and Sam, with one vote essentially being the difference. We're seeing a split house, which is, the beginnings of a split house, which is something that we haven't seen since War of the Worlds 2, which makes for great TV. And now every person that wins the daily is such an important thing, because every elimination is an important matchup, because now it is going to be a battle of the strong teams versus the weak teams, and whoever's in the position of power is going to throw in a team from the opposite side, right? And at this point, the numbers are tilted against the strong teams. So if a strong team doesn't win, it's guaranteed that the other strong team is going to go in, and then can they beat one of the weaker teams to stay in and dwindle those numbers? But realistically, if I'm looking at it, Adam and Steve and Nani and Turbo are like the only strong teams left, I think, unless I'm missing somebody. So I can see both of those teams going into every elimination in order to punch their ticket to the final.
Yeah, see, I have a different take on one of them. Nani and Turbo, I fully agree. I'm seeing them going into elimination consistently and constantly. I think we're past the point. I think people aren't going to put Adam Stephen, because while they should, I think they are a blind spot for enough of these voters. Because right now we're at a point where there'll only be 6 voters next week. So Adam and Steve obviously won't vote for themselves if they have a chance. Veronica and Katie are not going to vote Adam and Steve. And Nicole won't vote Adam and Steve, which means Melissa won't vote Adam and Steve. So you already have a deadlock right there. So now you're really more pointed at Shane and Devon, Ashley and Dario, Nicole and Nani. If, like, depending on who wins the daily, which is like what you said, Paulie. Now the dailies truly matter on who win, because now lines are being crossed, which goes to Shane and Devon.
Well, that's what I was going to say, was they're the other team that I think, at least coming into the season, we assumed would be a strong team. Now, unfortunately, it took till episode 7 to realize that Shane and Devon have a pulse on the show, but we're at least getting something. It may not be what we want to see, especially when you hear all the other background noise of what is or not going on in that house, but at least we know they're there now.
Can we talk about that for a second?
Yeah.
Can we talk about for a second, if all of the rumors are true, when was the last time we've had a gay hookup on the show?
Shown?
Yes, shown.
Like Marlon and Derek Chavez, Rivals 2.
I mean, technically, it was a couple episodes ago.
Oh, yeah, I guess Anissa and Sam.
Well, no, that lesbian. That's a lesbian.
Gay.
Yeah,
Okay.
we get tons of girl on girl action.
Honestly, yeah, it might
Girl
be
on
like,
girl's always shown. When was the
it
last
may have
time
been Derek
Zion
back
had
in
his-
Rivals.
I mean, was
I
it
think it was
with
Derek and
Ryan?
Marlon.
Was it Derek and Marlon, or was it Ryan and Shane? Derek and Marlon?
No, it would have been Derek, and because that would have been Rivals 2.
Okay. So all I'm saying is we have a gay hookup and it's not shown.
And we have a gay obsession with another gay.
That
isn't shown until
I don't think
confession.
we've ever had a gay love triangle on the challenge. I wanted to see that mess. I wanted to see the hookup. I wanted to see the dynamic with Frank, kind of like giving Shane the cold shoulder. Why am I hearing about this in podcasts?
Right.
Why am I hearing about this online? Like, Corey hasn't gotten some in any season that he's been on.
And finally on a season where there's multiple people. Like, obviously, Frank has his husband. In theory, doesn't mean anything, but like, it's all intents and purposes, we're seeing Frank's very loyal to his partner.
Yes.
But you still have Corey and Shane, and
Which
the rumors are there.
To see Shane being obsessed with a married man.
Yeah. To the point where he's like, because Shane this episode confused the ever-living fuck out of me. Because, like, he's talking about this master plan to get out Frank and Sam because it seems that he has an obsession with Frank, and maybe it's because that Frank is single. Or not single. Because as soon as Frank blows his top, you then go to confessional where Shane's like, yes, I won this battle, and this is the Frank from 12 years ago who's unmarried. Like, the first words are, he's unmarried. Messy, loud, single. And I'm like, no, he's still married. He's being loud. He's still married.
Yeah, it's like Shane is.
Hold on. I interpreted that scene as if that is the Frank that he's trying to see.
No, that's yeah.
That's what he showed. Because it came up like
getting there.
almost like a Tinder profile or something like that. It's like, Shane, that's what you want Frank to be. That's not what he actually is.
He's like, oh, he suddenly looks like his 23-year-old self again, who was single at the time. So, maybe I have a chance now. I'm like, dude, you don't have a chance at based off how Frank talks about you or doesn't talk about you. Right?
I don't think even if Frank was single, that Shane is his type.
I don't think so either.
I actually think I don't really think any of the people in rotation are Frank's type.
His type will have been Turbo.
I was going to say, his husband looks like Turbo.
His husband looks like Turbo. I think me with a beard, I'd be Frank's type.
There you go.
If we just gave you Brad's beard,
I respect the sanctity of marriage, so I would never. But it's nice to think about.
Yeah. No, because the Shane of it all is we finally hear from him a little more this episode of like Devon and I have been playing the middle because we have our two sides. Like, she has her people, I have my people. We've been making it work, but I want to win this game, and I'm doing everything I can from the middle to ensure that we get to the end and all the strong teams go out. The issue is all of Devon's allies are the strong teams, which is like, I'm calling into question Devon's strategy too in this, because like we're hearing not much from her, but we're hearing about her. And what we're hearing about her is she gained a new friendship or regained a friendship in Nany. She's tight with them. She's obviously tight with the Big Brother people and Fetsy and Amber. She was tight with Corey and Big T. But those teams are going away now, and she hasn't really pivoted. And then you're hearing from other teams that we don't hear from Devon. Devon does not talk to us. And that's very not like Devon.
It's not. And as somebody who's played with Devon, she does stay quiet. She does keep the cards close to the chest.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, once again, this is one of those things where Devon is actually a very observant game player, right? So I think she would have wanted to play with like a Fessy and an Amber, right? And be able to feed them more information. But I think she saw Amber as somebody that was feeding the information to Veronica, who was then aligned with Shane's side of the house. And I think she clocked that very fast.
Right.
Which brings me back to my thing. It's like, why, after all this time, right? You brought me back, you brought Devon back. Why haven't you put us on the same season together? See if we can run it back like Final Reckoning and War of the Worlds 1. You know what I mean? Ever since Cam and I ran it back on War of the Worlds 2, we haven't been seen back together on a season together. Like, what are we doing here? Like, if you really want to see the people's truest potential, man, it's like, I think the reason why Frank is able to shine so well is because he's come back and he has people that really want to work with him. And he has the comfortability of MTV people that he's known, and he knows if I ride with the OGs and if I start feeding into the weak teams, he's got it on lock. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And we have a comment in here that they also bring up my next point, which was because Shane has this idea that not only is Frank and Sam like essentially going into his turf, they're rubbing up shoulders to shoulders with Veronica now. And he's suddenly like, we're going to be the team on the outs because we have been the team in the middle. Even though Shane is close to Veronica and Katie, Devon isn't. So now he's fearing that Frank and Sam are going to be the 4 that go to the final together if everything works how Veronica's side wants, which would be Veronica and Katie, Adam, Steve, Nicole, Melissa, Frank, and Sam. That leaves Shane Devon out. But he's also under the impression that also means that Frank is targeting Shane and Devon. And with the comment, it sort of brings up what I was going to say is Frank was never worried about Shane and Devon. He wasn't worried about them. And because I even had this on my notes, Dan, that I was showing you before, I was like, I was putting weaknesses for each team. And my weakness for Shane and Devon is they are not on the same page. They're both 2 like good players, but their positions in the game do not align. Their philosophies in the game do not align. And that's allowed them to put themselves in this position where they can't win the day in this episode. They can't get Frank and Sam nominated. And now they're at a point where I don't think they would ever be able to get them nominated unless they win a daily themselves.
And from what it sounds like, from what Frank is talking about in terms of Shane, it almost seems like Shane has made himself a target through what he did, what we saw him do with Veronica this episode, which Frank essentially caused. Frank caused that riff between them. And now I feel like, here's one thing I will give Veronica credit this episode, because politically she flipped a lot of votes that were supposed to go on Frank and Sam.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That was that was very impressive. I'll give her that. But had she not done that, now it doesn't set up that Shane gets to do it, but Frank literally used Veronica and Katie as a freaking vessel, as a tool to just power through, get what he wanted, and in the same time also planted the seed about, I need to separate Shane and Veronica because they may be too close. I don't want Shane influencing my biggest asset. It was just
and so the way he does it, is so good. You go.
No, mine's taking us a little bit off topic, so you finish up your thought before.
But what makes it so good also is like how he goes about it, because younger Frank immediately goes and blows up Shane's spot, yells, gets loud, but this one is just like, it's obviously being shown that Shane isn't reliable. Like, we can't rely on him right now to do what's in our side's best interest, including Shane and Devon. So we need to do this because they were going behind our backs. It's like very Game of Thrones-esque, where like if you look at Veronica and Katie as like the Cersei in that situation before the finale, obviously, he's the little like whisperer. He's the guy who was like the religious cult leader who then puts Cersei under his influence so that he can have the full power, which causes the rifts among the family. That's what he's doing.
All that I wanted to point out is, as you guys were talking, I was like, from everything that we know, it seems like Shane might be the worst partner that Devon has, has ever had, which is staggering when you could say that Bear was one of her partners.
No, it is. They don't. They
Just
don't,
wanted to throw that out there.
They don't work. It's not even like the fun way of rivals not working. It's just that it's two people who have two different philosophies of the game.
Hold that 1 second. I gotta get food, and I'm gonna be eating food.
You got it. Dan, do you want to move to the next spot?
Yeah, there's the next. I guess the next thing that I really want to talk about is what do we make across. So I know when we were talking previously, you said that you actually really liked Veronica kind of strong arming Melissa, or not Melissa, but
absolutely.
call Melissa.
Before you answer, we got to talk about Bear. Okay.
Okay. We'll
right,
talk.
Dan triggered my ADHD. You son of a bitch. So Bear and Devon were a hilarious dynamic. Now, Bear is a total piece of shit, but the reason why that somewhat worked is because Bear was like a pusher and Devon was like a reeler inner. And they were both logical in their own ways, but from what I'm hearing about Shane, he's not logical at all. All right,
just messy.
We're going to talk about it was going to be Nicole and Melissa, and I guess give some props. But I guess the first question I had, and this isn't even really for Paulie, this may be an answer that Paulie would have to get from Cara, is there something about Cara being on a show that actually makes Nicole stand out as if she's there? Because I think there's a correlation. If Cara isn't on the show, Nicole is.
Yeah, let's just call it what it is. Nicole is like, looks at Cara as like the one that got away, as if she would ever have a chance. And when Cara's on a show, I don't know how to describe this. There's an interesting dynamic with me and Cara on the shows. I make the guys feel very uncomfortable in a certain type of way. Call it confidence, call it whatever, but insecure guys hate to see me walking into a room. Insecure women hate to see Cara walking into a room. So like you put her on a show and Nicole's there, Nicole's going to try and bang her. When Cara shuts her down, she's going to then hate her.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Simple.
It's just
simple. And when there's nobody there for Nicole to bang or like get upset because she's getting turned down from like trying to bang somebody, she's boring. And, still has a god-awful accent.
Yeah, because like they picked the right team to like essentially
strong arm. Yeah.
into doing it. And like I loved how Veronica popped off on them. Also, just for the people who watch the show and only watch the show and only believe what the edit shows you. Veronica doesn't know in the club what the exact deal is going on. This is what I fully believe happened. Shane told Nicole. Nicole got excited, so she kept drinking. Nicole got very drunk and forgot who Shane said did and did not know. She walks into the room and says to Veronica, hey, I heard about the plan, so we're voting in Frank and Sam, right? And then you also see Frank in the corner there, just being like, what? And that's where you get to that scene, where then Veronica's like, yo, shut the fuck up. You're a fucking idiot. You are going to vote for Fessy and Amber. Because if you do not, we will still find a way to put Fessy and Amber in. And then I'm going to put you in against them and send you home.
I totally see that exact scenario being true.
Like, it's just putting two and two together. Like, I give Veronica her props for, like, being able to turn the phrase into the professional and make it seem like she has a third eye the whole time. Because, really, are you really going to be mad that no one's talking to you at the club? Like, they knew what you wanted to do.
I will say, in the challenge house, you totally know when you're on the outs of something because of that. So,
well, yeah.
But I think Nicole just confirmed it where normally everybody would just kind of not tell you anything.
Right.
But like, you can totally tell when like you're in trouble because everybody is partying, everybody's having a good time, and you're sitting there being like, why does everybody feel so comfortable to get drunk? And why is nobody talking to us?
That part I believe. It's her like then saying like this is the exact plan that's happening. Where I'm like, I don't think she's aware of that. She could be like, oh, maybe they're trying to make a play on Adam and Steve to save themselves. Maybe they're trying to make a play on Nicole and Melissa because they are like just been an easy like name to throw out there. And then to find out through Nicole that no, they were saying Frank and Sam. And then because they are so tight now, Veronica's like, no, that ain't happening. Like, Frank and Sam are my meal ticket right now. We ain't touching them.
You can believe that something was off, but 100% it was Nicole spilled the beans and told her. Because even as you see how that conversation plays out, she had to have still been drunk because we didn't see all of it. But from what we did see, I get Nicole isn't the brightest person in the world, but I don't believe that if she's sober, she's even stupid enough to start talking about, oh, this is the plan when Frank is literally in sight.
No, because she proved when like times where she voted for Adam and Steve, she didn't let Adam and Steve know through her that they were going to be the vote. And they were actually tight allies. Like, I feel like she has proven she can keep her mouth shut this season when sober. But I think she got excited by the fact that it sounded like she would be safe because she was like, well, Veronica and Katie would never throw us in. They're telling us the house votes Frank and Sam, so we are sitting pretty. We're going to go into the next round and potentially even have a star at the Daily.
I think that was more so Nicole going in there trying to very obvious, very not in a good way, say Frank and Sam are going in. This is what the house vote is, right? And trying to almost like be like, so that means we're not going in, right? And then when Veronica acted the way she did, Nicole was like, all right, I'll do whatever I got to do to not be in.
Right. Because then you have like the Nicole and Melissa of it all, who are also a dysfunctional team because they have different people that they like in the house.
Yeah,
but
not dysfunctional in an entertaining way, though. Like they've been
it's a
incredibly boring.
We are going to fold every single time to whoever we think has more power at the moment. And in this case, Veronica and Katie / Frank and Sam have the power, and they knew their vote was crucial. They knew they were the ones who were going to get the comeuppance if they did vote for Frank and Sam. They were going to be the ones to do it because I'm not doubting that Veronica would have put them in if they turned on them. Like, Veronica can be vengeful.
Agreed, but
even if it's bad strategy.
No, that wouldn't surprise me either. But I think I don't get why they were so scared off about it. Is if you're Nicole and Melissa, be like, as long as it's not puzzle based, we have a good shot against Frank and Sam.
Well, I think that's what
we're
Nicole
probably going to have to
originally
beat someone. Like if you're, I get you can get it from a daily if a star comes available now, as we learned. But I would still think, all right, the most likely way to get a star is to beat another team in this house. The team you'd want to go against is Frank and Sam. So, okay, Veronica, you're pissed at this plan. Throw us in. This is probably our best shot at getting a star anyway.
Well, I think Nicole temporarily does think that. Because when she's arguing with Melissa, and to be quite honest, it's impossible to understand what either of them are saying when they're arguing with each other. But it came across as Nicole being like, I'm used to going down in elimination and winning them. That's not hard for me. And it almost felt like it was Melissa who was going against her own best interests to then be like, no, like, we have to be good with people. Like, if we don't do this, even if we get a star, we betrayed everyone in the house in this game at some point with our votes. So we're just going to be the team that gets thrown in next. So they bend. They bend, they break. They are always the team that's going to break. And that was the team to look at. Because if you look at the sides, like Nany and Turbo were always going to vote Frank and Sam. Betsy and Amber were always going to vote Frank and Sam. Shane and Devon were always going to vote for Frank and Sam. The only option was the force Nicole and Melissa and put the fear of God into them. That if you do this, we will end your game here. You don't get to have the next 3 episodes of the appearance checks of lasting long enough. You get to go home right now.
And even if you take the Veronica out of it, it essentially just shows the difference between Frank and Shane, that Frank, especially politically, is running laps around Shane, because that's what it really came down to, is whose side were you going to agree with? And Frank ran circles around what Shane was providing and got his way, which has happened time and time again all season.
Yeah.
You're muted, Paulie.
I said I got a nice little Snapchat photo of us. I think the way that Veronica leveraged that couldn't have been any better, because it worked out exactly the way she wanted it to work out.
Right. And it's like, for Veronica and Katie, because like you finally have a daily that is something that they are capable of winning. Something that's essentially only has to do with mental ability of understanding how clocks work. Like that's all it comes down to, is do you understand how a clock works? And when you have people like Dario and Ashley, love them, but they have no brains about them, go like, oh, for the third time this season, if we just say check first, it will rattle everyone else. It doesn't matter how much we have right or wrong. And I'm like,
that was actually a pretty hilariously smart move.
Because it finally worked.
Worked on most of the teams.
Well, it partially worked. Like they didn't win, but the fact that they did it, and then almost everyone except Shane and Devon and Veronica and Katie do checks, like it worked, but it wasn't about speed. It was about accuracy in this one. And that's another thing where it was weird with Shane and Devon, because Shane's saying throughout this daily, he's like, I need people in power that are going to do what I want instead of me having to do it myself. So he put himself in a position where he could potentially win. The logic doesn't work.
What did we think about that daily? Just, because we were talking about it. It was
it took me until today to understand what they were actually wanting us to do, because it was impossible to follow.
I was also slightly confused, because it was like, was it a memorization one where you had to memorize all of your clocks plus what it said underneath and then put them in order, or was there some sort of addition to it? It didn't really
what I think I came to the realization to was, they were giving you the board, but you didn't actually need to remember all of it. You needed to remember the locations, and for the two locations on the bottom, that plus or minus number, not the time. So like they're saying like LA is 2 p.m. Then underneath it said whatever, Cape May. I'm just gonna throw out names. So like Cape May is plus 15. But then they also gave another time. They said, because Veronica said when you got to the actual puzzle, the LA time was different than what was on the board. So I think what only mattered was knowing that difference in time, that plus 15, that plus 3.
But that's the thing, is were they able to look at the board before they went to that thing? Because it almost seemed like she figured that out after they disintegrated the paper.
We have no way of knowing.
By the way, the most Fessy thing to do was
to jump through it.
The only person that jumped through it while it was still burning. Like that's just hilarious.
It's textbook.
Come on,
it's gonna look so cool, guys.
There was never another choice for him. It's what he had to do. But it's just, I don't know. It's these challenges, because now they're starting to show up a little bit more often. Like we saw it in 40, where I think it was the balloon challenge, where era 2 and 3 completed it faster, but 4 took their time and won. And I guess era 1 was off in the corner somewhere. I don't know. In the team game, they really weren't that relevant. But how do you guys feel about these challenges? Because I understand wanting to be accurate, but I think it's just kind of weird that you're allowed to go through a challenge and a team's allowed to finish last but still win.
I mean, if you want to be fast, you want to be fast and accurate. That's the key of the game. You're going to be fast and not accurate.
I hate those kind of challenges. Like, I understand it, but the whole point of the challenge is to see who can solve things the best under pressure. And by basically being like, There really is no time limit. Just solve it correctly. It's like that would annoy the hell out of me because imagine if you finished the I don't know, the SATs
Right.
like fast and but you were under a time crunch and then you had somebody that was just like sitting there could have 3 days to just take their time, write the most perfect essay. Like, I don't know if that's the best comparison, but it's like the whole point of the challenge is to put pressure on to see if you could still solve the stuff and be correct under pressure.
Mm-hmm.
I think if they do that, then Veronica and Katie don't win.
Yeah. I'd rather it just be like a normal puzzle where TJ goes, that's not correct. And they can keep going at it and keep guessing until someone gets it right. I don't think it should just be a one and done.
I would be fine with that. Or even be like, if you got your check wrong, you have to wait until one other team gets a check before you can get another check again. Or something along those lines. Like something that's simple enough where you just don't have one and done and then you're just waiting for all teams then. Like you could still be working on it, correcting it.
I'm going to answer this person in the chat who is trying to say that not having a time cap is the best working under pressure. Let me give you a scenario. Tom Brady versus a college quarterback in a football throwing competition for accuracy. The college football quarterback may hit more targets than Tom Brady. Now, insert giant linemen and linebackers trying to sack Tom Brady. Tom Brady is the better quarterback and will hit more accurate passes under pressure. So that's adding more time does not mean that Veronica and Katie were the best to solve it under pressure. It means that they just solved it right in the longest time. Okay?
The only pressure they had was ensuring they were the most accurate. Because they weren't focused focused on
Devon.
Right. So you're only competing with one other team to be like who's going to be the most accurate. But maybe speed should have been a factor as well. But then that leaves the challenge gods to make stupid math equations for speed versus accuracy. And this means your score is this. And we know how challenge gods are.
Well, they could have done math because then our boy Handjob Steve would have knocked that out of the park.
Well, look, Handjob Steve should have won it because he was going out there looking like Flavor Flav of his clock being like, and I'm the only person here who knows what an analog clock looks like.
What a guy. Just
I love him. Well, okay, you know what?
Handjob Steve was hilarious this episode.
I was gonna say that him and Adam were funny right before the challenge where Adam's just trying to explain that they have to be focused on being accurate because of the complexity of it. And when asking Steve if he has friends that can go and make a definition, he immediately just goes, I have no friends.
Which is true, not because people don't want to be his friend, but just because he's Handjob Steve and he's in his own world, what makes him so great.
It's because he digs and finds stuff in the dirt and then shows it to people.
That's what I want to know. Who's he showing his findings on his adventures this season to?
It must be Adam. It has to be Adam and Veronica this season.
It's definitely not Adam. I'll tell you that. If I were to guess who Steve would be showing his findings to, because oddly enough, I feel like it would be Devon, because Devon has that kind of welcoming presence where she probably wouldn't shit all over him for coming and randomly show him a rock, and she would I feel like she would treat it like a little kid. She'd be like, "Oh, that's really nice, Steve. Thank you."
And then go into confessional and be like, This man is weird.
And is showing me rocks. What
I don't care about rocks.
Rocks. It's freaking brilliant.
Oh. But yeah, so we have the daily. Daily is what it is. And ultimately, for anyone who's like, this means that Veronica and Katie can win. Well, one, they still have to get a star. Two, even in an All-Stars 4-esque final, where it's more wild cardy, more stop and go, it's not endurance based until the end. It requires over half of the daily competitions within the final to be this.
Yeah, it's Well, A, they have no shot. But B, if you're looking at it now, so hypothetically, Paulie, you're cast on All-Star 6. Who knows what the theme is, whatever it could be. And they're sticking with this star format. Would you even try to get a star early on, knowing what they've done on 4 and 5, where there has been no benefit to getting a star early?
Absolutely not. I would literally, if I showed up and after, now granted, you don't really, if TJ says on the first thing, like, you're fighting for a star, I would look at my partner and be like, we're coming in last place. And we're just going to be everybody's best friends all season. And try to be as not threatening as possible until the end.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, the stars are no different than the skulls. It's a flop concept that just does not work. It does not work. It may work in their heads of like, this is going to be so cool to see play out. But how they implement it, how they run it, how they hand them out, and how they redistribute them does not work for a fluid game.
Also, when you're going to put twists in that could work out, if done correctly, you have to cast for the twists. Yeah. You should cast a bunch of smart people to try and figure out how to make it benefit their game. Not like, I don't know, 3 or 4 smart people like on this season.
Yeah, they really just set it up. I don't know if they intentionally did it, but for Frank to run circles around everyone.
It was a welcome back, Frank. Cats.
Dude, Frank is running circles around everybody. And honestly, if I was Sam, Sam, I don't think has any idea that Frank's doing what he's doing, but it's like, I'd be outside training every day. Wouldn't need to be much, just like an hour or 2 a day, just walking around every single day. Like, you're not doing anything in that house.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You could literally walk around for 2 hours, and I guarantee you she would drop within 6 weeks. If she walked every day for 2 hours, she would probably drop like 20 to 30 pounds and be able to kind of run.
Especially in Vietnam with that heat.
Exactly. Let's try that again, Dan.
Yeah, Vietnam.
We'll put this in the dictionary.
Boys, I'm going to let y'all take it home. I need to shower and pack. I love you guys. Great episode. I'll see you guys next week.
See you, my dude.
Take it easy, man.
Later, boys.
Later. Okay. So the last thing I feel like we really need to highlight is like sort of like the map of like where everything was heading into this vote, because it's that and also the conversation between Shane and Devon, or not Shane, Devon, Shane and Veronica.
If you just take the rest of, the Franks of it all, Veronica's out of the world, is it really a shocker that the votes didn't go Amber's way? Because that's kind of the story of her challenge career. Could have summed that up, that it wasn't going to quite work out.
All of her besties for life betraying her. At least she like acknowledges where it's like, okay, I understand it's better for their game, but like, fuck you guys. I thought you were my friends.
I at least like that she spoke up at Noms and said it was never going to change anyone's mind. If anything, it probably dug her grave even more. But I'm glad she at least spoke up for herself.
Oh, yeah, no. See, I like clowning on Amber, but I also have a lot of respect for Amber because she plays the game how she wants to play it. Is she going to be gullible? Yes. Is she going to believe the thing that the last person told her? Yes.
Probably, yeah.
Is she going to go into a season, say that she didn't know anything about someone, and then leave it being like, they are going to be the best man at my wedding? Yeah. But it's sort of fun having someone who's just like trying to be absolutely positive and just like their authentic self on the screen. And when they're hurt, they show that they hurt.
Well, and we've seen most of this cast be invisible for minimum half the season. I remember pretty much every episode that Amber's there. So she's at least giving us that presence. Now, sure,
But
maybe there's one or two where you don't see a whole lot of them, but you can always pinpoint. Like, there's never been a thought being like, oh, yeah, I forgot Amber was on the season. Like you could have done insanely enough with Shane and Devon that had there not been the hype coming in that they were going to be back, you forget every week that they're actually on the show.
yeah, it's just that it's sort of like what we see in the comments. Like Amber is just extremely willing to trust, and when she chooses to trust, it's very strong. So then, as soon as you do something that is against her, even if she understands it and makes sense on a game level, it's a bigger deal because she decided to give you that trust, which is interesting. But I will also say, and I don't know if this is a hot take or not after seeing it on here, because, like, a lot of people have their feelings about who should and shouldn't be on All Stars. I know I've shown it, and I'm going to bite my tongue, or not bite my tongue. I'm going to actually take back some of my words here. I think Amber's better suited for an All Stars format.
I can see that. I think the other thing that's really great about Amber is the fact that she won her first season. So in her head, she's like, I don't have to be anything other than myself. Whereas others come back and they feel like they need a change. But because she knows she went in her rookie season, she was authentically herself. Sure, there were some ups and downs, but ultimately she loved Darrell, loved winning with CT, that she doesn't know how to come into the game and be anything other than that, which is nice because half of this cast plays, oh, I want to come back, I want to make it further in the game. I want to make sure I get cast on more seasons, where you never have that with her. And I think that's one of the things that makes her so refreshing. But I do agree. I think she pops a little bit more on an All-Stars than what she does on the flagship.
Yeah. And I will say, as much as we dog on some of the cast, we could say going into this episode, of 8 teams left, I would say 6 teams were in there legitimately thinking about winning the game. You could argue 5, but as much as 6 teams were looking at, we could win this game. Like, if we can just get to the end. Like, Adam and Steve are thinking, if we can get to the end, we can win this game. Nani and Turbo are thinking, if we get to the end, we will become the champion of the Nani, as Turbo said. The champion of the Nani is on the rise, which, given how the editing has been, we're seeing that they're going to fight at the beginning of the next episode. They're going home the next episode. It's my wild take.
Well, these editors seem to be a one-trick pony, so that's really unfortunate. I'm going to hope that's
It's very unfortunate that they finally showed it on the next time on what we saw in the beginning of the season. But
I was just...
if they got to the end, they are thinking they can win.
Yeah.
I think Shane and Devon think if they can get to the end, they can win. And, like, the one you can argue is Frank and Sam. Like, I think Frank wants to believe that they can get to the end and win. But I think he's more focused on at least getting to the end and has done steps actively to get himself in position to be qualified to go to the end.
Yeah. Just speaking on Turbo and Nani, going back to them, the thing that I think I'm most excited for 41 is I want to see if we get single Nani back, because I obviously want everyone to be happy. Wouldn't want her and Casey to break up, but she really took on more of Casey's personality on the challenge since they've been together, and you're not seeing the drama where the Nani of the old, let Turbo go. No, let him swear off half the house. That's what I want to see. Don't put handcuffs on that man.
Well, she would have done that regardless, with or without having been in a relationship with Casey. But it is just so unfortunate that all of her confessionals are about, I'm so ready to win this money because I want to be able to start my family and have kids with Casey. And we all know this isn't happening. And it's like, they can't. Are you telling me you couldn't just set up a very bad green screen, like, right now, post-production, and just be like, hey, could you, like, say something else so that we have more than just you wanting this happy life with Casey? Like, sorry again, like, sorry, we're so sorry that you guys broke up, blah, blah, blah. But, like, could you make some new confessionals for us, because that's literally the only thing you talked about.
Yeah, it makes her boring when she's dating Casey. It's really unfortunate.
Yeah, but, like, and then you look at the web of the cast. So, like, I put Frank and Sam in the middle of the board. Yeah, Frank and Sam in the middle of the board.
Be.
Right underneath them, you have Ashley and Dario, because Frank and Sam, boom, they're always going to be together. it was a mistake not to try to get Ashley Dario out sooner if you thought Frank was going to be a force in this game politically. You then cut over to the side. To the left of Frank and Sam, you have Veronica and Katie. Then, like, underneath them, you have Adam and Steve. Then underneath them, you have Nicole and Melissa. And then you can sort of, like, connect Melissa to Ashley. Right? So there you have this weapon. Above Veronica and Katie, you have Shane and Devon because they're, like, sort of in this ethos of, like, they're supposed to be on that left side across the line. But they're not under the hierarchy anymore because Shane decided to just claim that he was going to ruin a 23-year friendship with Veronica because she picked his crush over him.
It's really just insane how bad he's really fumbled the bag because he should be in the best position in the house. Like, Shane and Devon should be playing that middle where they can almost swing back and forth pendulum style and not get too much blood on their hands and waltz their way to the end. And whether they get to the end or not, who knows? But it's going to be a much harder road getting there than what it ever had to be. And I think that's mostly due to Shane.
Yeah, like, I'm also at the point where it's like, even if they, let's say somehow they do get a star, like, they, on paper, they should be a good team. Like, on paper, if you put them in the final now, let's say Nani and Turbo go somehow just through a couple eliminations.
Because
something
they
goes
have
the
a
wrong
fight
way.
and they're most
They
likely
have a
done.
fight. Turbo punches someone. Who knows? Turbo
Pussy
decides
chickens.
to, like, go into his career of singing, which apparently his song got stripped off of Spotify recently. So big shame for everyone.
Poor Turbo.
Yeah.
Said
Anyway.
no one ever.
Yes. But it's like, I don't believe in them to win. I don't
Shane and
believe in
Devon?
Shane and
No.
Devon to win, even though on paper they should have the makeup of a team that could win an All-Stars final.
Yeah. If just looking at on paper, not watching the season. And so if you were someone that was just, I don't know, you're looking through just recaps, like just listening to podcasts or just looking through the Wikipedia breakdown of it all, you'd think they must be crushing it. And they're probably a team to beat, maybe not the team to beat, but they're in that top echelon. But it's like, man, unless they're there with Veronica and Katie, Frank and Sam, and then maybe you'd say Melissa and Nicole, just simply because of their puzzle deficiency, I don't think they have a shot at winning because I don't think they have any shot at beating an Adam and Steve. I don't think they have any shot of beating even an Ashley and Dario. And I don't think they'd have a shot of beating Nani and Turbo. So they almost need a perfect storm, I feel like, to actually have a shot at winning this game.
Right. And then, like, you go, like, because the only thing left in the chart now would be, like, from Devon, you go to the complete other side of the board and you have Nani and Turbo. And you would have had Fetsy and Amber there as well, who then would have connections to Ashley and Dario and technically Nicole and Melissa, even though it's weird with the whole Amber thing of suddenly they were deciding that they could trust Nicole and Melissa after spending all season not trusting them. It's just that other side's just completely gone. It's now Nani and Turbo and Shane and Devon with the house.
Yeah. I mean, there's no way, like, it's set up. Like, it's also not a bad guess that they could be screwed next week because of the editor's laziness this season, but also unless they win, like, they're the house vote.
Right. Like, I think they're the house vote regardless. Like, I honestly think the next matchup would be Starholder versus Starholder.
It's either Ashley and Dario or it's Adam and Steve. Like, I think that's the only two matchups you're going to see. Who wins?
Depending who wins the daily, that's what I'm seeing. Because we're also relying on interviews and stuff like that. People aren't seeing Shane and Devon as a threat, so why would they put them in? No one's seeing Nicole and Melissa as a threat. At this point in the game, why are you putting them in as opposed to earlier in the season? Veronica and Katie aren't a threat. The only thing you could say is, well, if they're going to give us more crapshoot dailies like this, maybe we do just throw them in out of spite for not doing what I wanted. If you're Shane and Devon, So all this to say, a lot of things can happen, which is sort of exciting for this end game where usually you just see a straight line of this will happen, this will happen, this will happen because this is what the alliance dictates. There is still like a vagueness of like anything can happen just because of how crapshooty the dailies are.
Mm-hmm.
Where this whole thing could upend. We could be back here next episode being like, they got Frank and Sam out. They did it.
And because of all that, like I said, it'd take the perfect storm, but the perfect storm is still there. Now, I never expect Shane and Devon to win, but there's a path for them where at this point, last year we were talking All-Stars 4. We got to this point, it was pretty evident, either Cara or Laurel is winning this season. Don't know which one, but it's probably going to be one of the two of them.
Oh no, Handjob Steve was right there.
That was his appetizer. He's coming for the crown this year.
Yes.
But like it became clear, especially through the edit, that it was probably going to be one of those two. Where you can say, sure, there's favorites going in at this point in the season, but there isn't clear, distinct, it's either this or this, like this team or this team. I think there are a lot of options, which is really what we want, because I mean, I don't want it to be obvious who wins. I don't even want to know who wins, let alone by episode 4, you're like, oh, great, it's probably one of these 3 people.
Yeah, like, would I be excited if like a Frank and Sam or an Adam Steve won over the field? Yeah, I would, because I've loved the meme of Adam and Steve since the preseason, and I think it would be hilarious. Frank and Sam would also just be a big like, here's your crown, Frank, for like you were put in this spot where you thought you had zero chance of being able to win this game. You decided to play the game fucking hard because in the end of the game, as you have said multiple times, it is just a game. This is a chessboard right now. Let me play the game and find a way to come out on top. And if you're able to do that, that's fucking awesome.
Yeah, he does that. That puts the ultimate bow on it. He takes 13 years off. He comes back. He wins. He wins with Sam after everything that happened the first time. Like
if he wins with Sam as current Sam as his partner, I know it's only 2 championships, but it would be 3 finals in 4 seasons, 3 of 3 if you count ones where he wasn't medically sent
free
home.
agency got pulled, which is the only other season he's been on.
The only people you could claim have had a better start to their careers would be like Darrell, Landon, and like Jordan.
It would essentially, you know what? For everyone that loves Landon, it would essentially be, because what Landon likes to point out for all the Landon fans are Fresh Meat 2, where he won with Carly. If Frank can win this season with Sam, that is equivalent to what Landon did. I don't think he's going to be able to do it, but it would be something incredibly special if he's able to pull it off.
But the only difference would be they both competed in 4 seasons. Frank's never went home, if that's the case.
Never lost an elimination.
But Landon would have the more
wins. Yeah.
It's just an interesting conversation to have, because it's like that quality versus quantity argument. It's like Jordan is seen as more of a GOAT in more recent discussions because while having less seasons, he's done more with them and has been more successful throughout. A lot less dud seasons, whereas Bananas has taken 2,500 seasons to get the amount of titles that he has.
That's what makes it so upsetting, is think about what we were, I don't want to say robbed of, because, you know, Frank went and did his own path in life. It's not like he was ostracized and not invited back. But, you know, he deprived us. Is that would have been incredible to see, you know, every 2 or 3 seasons be like Jordan and Frank are back on it. Because, I mean, they really started, one challenge season after another. Yeah, so it was right there. And we could have just had a decade of Jordan and Frank going at it, seeing their finals, you know, where they both make it and who would win. Like, it just would have been incredible TV.
Jordan's first season is Frank's second season.
Yep.
They would have been like, if Frank stays on, doesn't get sick in free agents, which again, who says
could have
what
won
happens
free
in free agents? We don't know. It's impossible to know which, like, especially from the guys' side, free agents is one, like, the most stacked in terms of just quality of guys, especially on the top. On the top, you had so many guys there who had the upside of winning. Like, hell, fucking Johnny Riley almost won.
Yeah.
Like, let's talk about that. But
actually had didn't have to go into elimination, but actually did really well in a final, which people forget about.
But like Frank was in a position where he probably will have faced some eliminations because of the time of his life he was in. But like at that point, there was no proving that he was ever going to lose an elimination
Unless
because he was good at everything.
Yeah, the only thing where he would have been in trouble, and not saying he would have won every elimination, is if you go back to free agents, they had that own variation of Hall Brawl, but it was like in a circle.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's just if he gets that against a CT as Zach, someone who's a lot bigger, he's in trouble. But as long as he avoids that type of elimination, I'm not saying he beats everyone there, but I think he has a very good shot at it.
He has a good shot. I'm not taking away Johnny's win. Johnny's win is very impressive, or Bananas' win is very impressive in free agents. But it's a big what if moment. And the conversation of Frank goes from he is an all-time great player to he could have been in the conversation of the Mount Rushmores of it all. Like you bump Landon aside and he's that person who's like either on the echelon or in the conversation.
Because he already got that one. He gets to really, if he can find a way to get to 3, now maybe you say that takes away 1 from Jordan, that he's down at 4 or something like that. And it essentially would give him that last spot, because right now we have 3 locks, and then it's a debate for who's the 4th. He gets to 3 and he's a fixture on the show. He has a good argument for that last slot. It's
right, because like if we're being like real, it's like people don't put Wes on there, and Wes has like you could argue Wes should be in that conversation, but it gets pigeonholed by like the Derricks, the Darrells, the Landons. Like there's so many other things who had less time on the show but bigger impact in terms of just the statements that they made while in the show. Frank will have been on that conversation as well, and still could be. It's up to Boone and Murray to give him the calls and give him better partners to potentially win. But it's a conversation I would like to be able to have, and I'm thankful for Frank saying yes to this season to give us that opportunity.
Mm-hmm. And just remind us that he ran. I get it's generally on the internet, people hate Battle of the Seasons. He ran that season as a rookie.
Yeah.
And he did that when he had the temperament that he did, and still controlled that thing from, A to Z. And now he's back taking 13 years off, and he's doing the exact same thing. He's running the game.
It's almost as if he is just someone who is good at this type of stuff. Yeah. Now, the real question would be that 4th or that next appearance that he does eventually. Do people look at this season and finally go like, we're not even letting him breathe in this season. He's going to have to fight for his existence in the game. Who's to say? Because apparently people would think that they would have said that every single time he's shown up on the show and they've let him do his thing.
Yeah, it's do you fall into, I think it's the one knock on Wes is that he comes back, he does really well, but then the next season he comes back right away. He doesn't, because everyone says we're not going to fall for that again. Does Frank have more than kind of that one trick pony that can do it season after season? Right.
But I'm going to enjoy this ride while we can. But I think that's everything about this episode, man, if you want to bring us home.
Yeah, Fessy and Amber lost elimination. Was a scratch-off puzzle.
Well, you know what? You should have known, because they showed Fessel's dogs this episode.
That is right.
They're essentially his children.
Of course. I'm just surprised that he didn't name his dogs like Fessel and Fessy. Like that, I could just see him naming his dogs after himself.
Could be.
He's like, well, I am the most influential person in my life. Like, this makes sense.
Hey, it's him having a girlfriend for a year now, which is the bigger surprise for me.
It is the bigger surprise, and as much as I, have in the past, and will probably continue to shit on him, I will say, which the sentiment I haven't always given in the past, I was actually happy to see him this season, and I was happy he was on the season. So,
yeah,
bring him back.
I don't know. They didn't call him for 41, so.
Yeah, he was making fun of bananas. Like, you had
Yeah.
They only had 3 slots that were allowed to be anti-banana man, and then the rookies, obviously. So it was slim pickings.
Yeah, but stay tuned into what we're doing, folks, because there's a lot still going on this channel. Fairplay, Matt, the gang, they're all doing their Survivor coverage. Johnny's still doing his Deal or No Deal Island coverage. There's all Australian Survivor coverage by the episode. Like, there's plenty of stuff going on. So make sure you subscribe to the channel, press the like on this video, and press that bell for notifications so you know when all the content drops for Reality After Show. The best way to support us is to become a Patreon at realitypatron.com. Try for a month. If you don't like it, Johnny will give you back your money. No questions asked. And you know what? Keep tuning in here. We'll be back next week talking about episode 8 of All Stars 5. And will we get to have another Handjob Steve joke? Absolutely.
Damn straight we will. Yeah, that'll do it for us. We'll see y'all next week.